Hey viewers, welcome to VL Astrology once again, and I have Ashley on my channel. Hi Ashley, how are you doing?
Hi Vanita, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good too. So we are going to be talking about Sun in Aries.
Yes,
So
happy Surya Sankranti.
yes, so it's Mesha Sankranti, and Ashley will be talking something and sharing her insights on the same, and we'll be discussing gradually what exactly is this transit about. So what do you have to say?
Okay, yeah. So I wanted to talk about the sun. The sun's exaltation in Aries is a really important placement for the sun. So I wanted just to share a little bit about it as being the natural Atmakaraka. And so the Atmakaraka is the natural indicator of the soul, known as the Paramatma, or the supreme being, the supreme self. So everybody shares this energy of the sun as being the Atmakaraka on a universal level, regardless of what their personal planetary Atmakaraka is in their natal chart.
True.
And so this is a really important. And one of the interesting things about the sun's glyph, or the sun's symbol, is that it's a circle with a bindi point in the center.
Yes.
And this represents the jiva, which is the mind and body inside the circle of the soul. So it's a representation of our physical incarnation, our physical experience here.
Well said. Yeah.
Yes. So basically, what the soul wants, what the sun wants, is to be liberated from the jiva, which is this human experience. So how this is done is through the qualities of the sun, which illuminates the conscious mind, right? And just like the sun is light and heat and fire that can burn bacteria and dispel the darkness, it also dispels the darkness in our mind and has this cleansing and burning aspect, burning the karma of our ego. Right. So it burns our self-limitations, it burns our impurities, and it's just the most important planet or luminary in the chart. It is actually the only graha that actually has its own light. Everything else is a reflection of light that it's brought from the sun. So what the sun is not, it's not the limited individual self. That's really more the lagna, or the ascendant is your personality. And then to some extent also the moon, which is the mind, and the awareness of our incarnation. But the sun is the intangible aspect of us that is the soul that never dies. So we have we are tripart beings, right? Body, mind, and soul. We are the ascendant, the moon, and the sun, all three together, and they work in harmony. But the sun is not necessarily personality and character traits. That's really mostly seen with the ascendant and the moon. But what the sun is, it's a sattvic planet, which is purity and knowledge and light. And it's sattvic energy radiates actions that bring peace into the world. So it's the highest state of awareness that we can evolve to. And the sun gives light, it is power, it joins individual souls, it's what joins us together, it's what we all have in common, basically. And the sun is so generous in the sense that it wants to give. It sheds light on everything, whether you are rich or poor, you're sick or you're healthy, whether you're strong or weak, it doesn't matter. It's just this sharing of the light and sharing of everybody can have this consciousness. True. So on the lowest form of the expression of the sun can be service to self, where it's self-gratifying or self-absorbed, basically. But that's the development of the negative ego and wanting to reign personal power. So we see that actually sometimes with our leaders, because the sun is power and it's leadership. So sometimes leaders can abuse their positions of authority. But ultimately the sun calls for integrity and truth. So the key words for the sun are purpose, like, what is the purpose? So if you're looking in your chart and you see, where is the sun in my chart? It's just so important because it's actually cascading this light on the area of your life that is meant to be illuminated. That is your purpose. That's where you will shine, right? So it's purpose, it's power, it's also confidence and empowerment, integrity, growth, and vitality, right? We see the sun as being the karaka, or the indicator of vitality and health and well-being. And basically, it just has these expressions of sort of being called to be impeccable and in our truth and living that. So what the sun is.
Sun is power. Yes, sun is power, and it's the father. That is why he has that unconditional love for everybody. Impart. I think nobody on this in this universe has that capacity to be selfless, apart from sun.
I mean, even with, so moving to that, the selfless part of that, you have to look at rulerships too. So the sun rules Leo, right? It's exalted in Aries and debilitated in Libra. So if it moves into its exaltation point of Aries, it is the strongest that it can possibly be, especially when it hits that 10-degree mark in Ashwini. So there's a sense of like transformation, personal power, and that I am, that self-expression and self-actualization. And it can be sort of this, again, it's debilitation being in Libra. It goes from I am in Aries to we are, which is shared power. So it almost like splits the sun in half. It's like, well, I have personal power, you have personal power, let's compromise and try to find sort of a middle ground. That's really not what the sun is about. The sun is about living your truth without having to have any sort of, I guess, validation from other people. Am I allowed to be powerful? Within Aries, Aries is this sign where it's very much about following instinct. So despite it lacking a lot of foresight into the future, it just wants to act in the now, right? And be very present. But there's this powerful instinctual nature about it. So we will all have that. The sun being in Aries lends that quality to all of us, where we will have, we'll be able to tap into that instinctual power of like, what do I need to do right now without thinking too far ahead into the future and kind of sabotaging ourselves basically because of fear or whatever that mindset is. So Aries wants to start new things, so we can possibly start new projects. I think it depends kind of on everybody's personal chart, but just in general, it's a good time to start new things. It's very action oriented. So stepping outside of your comfort zone to achieve something that makes you feel powerful, or something to do with study and self-awareness, again, illuminating that consciousness, this would be a really good time to do that. It's just such a special time of the year. So it's basically, it also with Aries too, it wants to have a large presence. So doing something, getting out of your comfort zone and really making a difference in your life in a large way, and not being like kind of, afraid to create some beautiful change in your life. It's just asking you to kind of hone in to like your courage basically, and just be able to radiate that self-expression. Yeah, I think with the sun being in Aries, in its exaltation point, it shows like our ability to have creative intelligence, and really it's a time for the soul's purpose to act in understanding ourselves, right? And there can be an increase in intellectual problem solving at this time as well, because in the Kala Purusha, the cosmic man of the zodiac, the sun being exalted in Aries is the head, it's the mind. So we could have this sort of spark of new ideas and new creative thinking. We're like, I never thought of it that way, or that's a different way I could approach it. That not everybody, it's not like you're following everybody else. You're kind of coming up with your own solutions. And it's kind of the, a good position for leadership qualities, not just in other people out there in the world, like leaders, but also how can you lead in your life? What are some ways that you can be an example for other people? This is just a kind of a perfect time to bring that out. So the movement of the sun ingressing into Aries, the moon will be with K2. And I just wanted to show the chart.
Yes, can see.
Okay, great. Mm-hmm. So this is the event here in Los Angeles, where I'm based. And this is April 13th of 2020 at 7:52 a.m. Okay, so the sun moves into 0 degrees of Aries, and it just happens to be on the ascendant. So the sun it's at sunrise. So that's another thing too, being so important. One of the things that you can do to like a good remedy is also waking up at the sunrise. It's good to do that every day, but especially with the sun going through Aries and the fact here in LA that we have this beautiful sunrise time when this like auspicious transit is happening. It would be a really great time to sort of honor the planet, especially just this one day of the year. If you're going to get up at sunrise, do it this day.
Right.
But the other thing that we see with this chart is we have the dispositor of Aries, which is Mars being in Capricorn with Saturn and Jupiter together. And then we have the ruler of Aries. The ruler of Aries is Mars, and Mars is here in Capricorn at 15 degrees, and it's with Saturn at 7 degrees and Jupiter at 1 degrees. And this is where Pluto is located right now. Isn't it Pluto at 1 degrees? Yeah. So Jupiter is going over Pluto, causing a lot of transformation, a lot of transformational effects globally. We also have over here, we have Mercury in its debilitation sign of Pisces, and it's in the 12th house in this chart. So it's a week.
All the planets are in Rahu Ketu axis.
Yes, yes. So we have Rahu over here, and we have Ketu down here, and everything is on one side of that. So this creates extremes, right? This is the Kalsarpa yoga, the time serpent yoga, and it can create just where everything just feels like it's out of our control. Everything is so extreme, and there's so much fate at hand here. So even the moon is in, so the moon is the fastest traveling planet, and it's also joined the other planets on the side of the Rahu Ketu axis. So this is just so potent. And we have to look also, so not just the time of day, but also the day. We have the moon with Ketu. The moon is the mood of the chart. The moon is your feelings. The moon is your emotions. So the collective feeling or the collective emotions, the energy that's in the air. You have the moon with Ketu. It has this sort of separative quality of we're feeling isolated. We're feeling separate. I don't feel like we'll be out of quarantine or isolation at this time, especially with just the mood of that day is just kind of like a
and
it's a time to
Ashley, this is not true nodes. These are mean nodes that you've taken.
I use mean nodes.
Yeah.
The moon being here, this is a really good time to meditate too. Anytime you have the moon with K2, it's a time to go within, right? It's a time to really introspect, and a lot of insights will be brought up at this time. Again, with the sun being this consciousness and conscious awareness and that personal power, like again, sunrise, meditating this day, sort of sets the tone for the whole 30 days, the whole, because every time is sort of a continual thing, but it's not as well. It's circular, and it also like starts now. And again, 10 seconds from now, time starts now, because 10 seconds ago is in the past. So when we first started this conversation, it no longer exists. Technically, it exists in our memories and it exists on camera. But one of the things with that is like, it's sort of, we're moving forward in time. So we don't actually have the past, it's just a good time to go within. I guess that was my
and point. Ketu is aspecting the sun also. Ketu, Mars, both.
Yeah, by trying here.
Yeah. So
Yeah, and then Mars is aspecting the sun by its fourth drishti.
yeah.
So one of the other things with setting the mood for the whole month, this could be a very transformative month if we just sort of go within. But this is like the birth chart of the sun's entry into Aries, and I just wanted to look at it because I found it fascinating.
It's
So,
perfect.
anything else?
Put it all
Anything
together.
else you,
Yeah.
do you want to bring up anything else about the chart, or would you like to share?
No, I just simply, mentioned in my videos also that, when Mars and Ketu both look at the sun, sun is not losing any power, but, when Ketu looks at the sun, especially, when Ketu is aspecting, especially when they'll come to the same degrees, 6 degrees or some minutes. So that is the time, when they'll be exactly, because whenever Rahu Ketu are looking, their drishti is to the points, to the degrees. So whenever any planet is at the same degrees, that is when it loses its power. So here, what is the thing that, sun, is the one who combusts all the other planets, has the power to combust others, but gets eclipsed by Rahu Ketu only. So here, Ketu is actually setting the tone of the whole year. In fact, if you go back and see, since December, Sun was with Ketu in Rahu Ketu axis. Then Sun went into the sign of Capricorn, then went to the Aquarius sign. So, Rahu Ketu are not leaving the Sun. In Pisces, Saturn was looking at the Sun. So, every time I'm seeing, look at a chart with a negative bias also, that is something that that's me, that I don't want to be too sugar coated and keep saying that, oh, beautiful, in Aries, sun will be exalted and it's a beautiful phase for everybody. No, we have to see what are the negatives that are going to be influencing the sun. Mars is the dispositional lord of sun, remember, and it's looking there. So it is giving that power to its own zone. Sun is getting too aggressive here. Mars is very aggressive. Ketu cuts. So there are certain things which we can anticipate during this transit, which will bring about transformational as well as major things in in this transit of 1 month. Something major.
One of the things that you mentioned too is like looking at the negatives. Yes, you can also say that the sun is uncomfortable. It's hot, right? The sun is a ball of fire. It's Pitta. And it's in Aries. Now you also have Mars, which is a fiery planet, and you have Ketu, which is also very fiery. It's overheated.
Yes.
So it's uncomfortable. But here's the thing, it's not all, candies and roses. I understand that. But the deepest transformation comes from your discomfort.
True.
You may be uncomfortable. This is an uncomfortable time. But that's really where the beauty lies, because it pushes you, again, out of your comfort zone.
Now what is happening with all these transits, people are saying that things will improve, things will get better, stuff. So there is a lot of heat in this particular zone in Aries, which is going to bring about heat in their heads, because it's the Kala Purusha Kundli, if you put up, is the first house, is the head region. So people will be very hot-headed. People will start losing their cool. So that is why I'm forewarning, please stay calm. Authoritative figures, wherever they are, they're really going to be getting very irritated, very jittery, very irrational. So because sun is authority leaders and worldwide leaders, they might take a wrong decision during the say around our 21st of April. That's a major day, I feel, when Ketu will be at the exact degree to the sun. So we must be really cautious.
Okay.
So Ashley, thanks for the insights on the birth chart of Sun in Aries. What about Akshaya Tritya? I want to hear something from you, because Indians keep talking about Akshaya Tritya. So somebody from the West talking about Akshaya Tritya would be really a charming thing to hear from you.
Okay, well, the only thing that I really know about it, like socially, is that it's a good day to like buy gold, or some people have even heard that like donating gold it's good. It's like an auspicious day for that. But I think this is such an important time. Akshaya Tritya is the third tithi, or the third lunar day. And so after the new moon in Aries, you have then the third day with the moon being exalted in Taurus. And this is such a powerful and a potent time because the sun being exalted and the moon being exalted, they're like our celestial parents, right? Because the father is represented by the sun, and also the moon is represented by the mother. So you have the mother and the father seated together at their highest level of functioning, their highest, so they're almost like honored in that sense. And, you know, we are a product of our cosmic parents. So with the moon being exalted at Taurus at 3 degrees and then the sun being exalted in Aries at 10 degrees, it gives us strength.
You can share the chart. Okay, so this is the chart of the day of the Akshaya Tritya. So sun is exalted and moon is exalted with Venus in its own sign, Saturn in its own sign, Jupiter debilitated, Mars exalted. Rahu Ketu are supposed to be in good dignity with the Gemini and Sagittarius axis, but you know the only problem is they are in Rahu Ketu axis. All the planets. What do you want to add?
One of the questions, I had a question for you actually, because when you mentioned before that when we were talking about the dispositor of the sun being in Capricorn, it's exalted, it's strong, but it's also with Mars, so it's being afflicted. Wouldn't you also have to, yes, that's important to look at the sun, but wouldn't you also have to look at the moon's dispositor as well? Because you're looking at the day, right? So the moon's dispositor, you know,
that means you're talking about
yeah, on this day.
You see, it is definitely important when moon is with the dispositional lord itself, you know.
I think you had said it was going to be a difficult time. It would be a difficult day. I see that because of everything as well with the Rahu Ketu axis. But doesn't that kind of mitigate some of the negative aspects of it too, with the moon being in the sign of Taurus?
One must understand, Ashley, one must understand that Rahu Ketu eclipsed the sun and the moon. So things were not as bad as this time as compared to the last year transit, the transit positions of the other planets. So I still feel that, you know, this Akshaya Tritya is not having the potency to give positive energy that much as it was every year giving, because moon is in dignity, sun is in dignity, Mars also is in dignity. But Mars is also looking at the sun, as I mentioned earlier. Ketu is also going to be looking at the sun. Venus either would have been in Pisces, Venus would have been either in Taurus or in Aries during this time. Whenever there's Akshaya Tritya, either of these three houses, you know, are active. So if moon is in Taurus, Venus is in dignity, remember, every Akshaya Tritya. That is why it is a powerful day. Auspicious most day, you know. It's said that we don't need Muhurta also, any auspicious time, but it's not that. We need a Muhurta. We need an auspicious time to do any kind of activity. We cannot generalize this. Most of the astrologers generalize this, that this is a day when, you know, you can pick and choose any. How can you pick Saturn Hora? How can you pick Rahu Kal? How can you pick Mars Hora for doing auspicious things? No. We will be getting a Saturn Hora also. We'll be getting Mars Hora also. So always pick and choose your Muhurta, you know, whatever important things you have to do in life, you must pick and choose. This is not just a day which we can just, you know, categorize as the best day of the year. So do anything you wish to. Right now, current scenario, given that, I don't think so. It's an auspicious time anybody is running through, apart from the pharmaceuticals and doctors and stuff, you know, even doctors are suffering. So people's life is at risk. So this day we can take as, okay, there is an auspicious day, offer prayers, do something which is, do some kind of charity, do for others, be humble. That's something which will help us all. We cannot expect, you know, any more major changes right now, you know, with the Akshaya Tritya only, you know. And Akshaya Tritya is also blemished, I feel, this time.
I feel like that's kind of the go-to remedy, is just do for others, care for others.
True.
So people have like all these specialty things that you can do, and it's just basically, let's just look after other people, right? It kind of goes back to this, like, love your neighbors, yourself, sort of ethics and qualities.
The best part about Akshaya Tritya is that on this day, river Ganga descended on the earth. So what I can anticipate is that there, it is a holy water on this earth. So if there has to be any kind of positive energy of this day, that could be that we get some, inception to the vaccine. It could be that, there's a cure that we are moving towards. Akshaya Tritya can be a foundational day for that, because it is a very pious day, because there were so many, Parsuram was born, incarnated, and Mahabharata was written and stuff. So there are many mythological tales attached to Akshaya Tritya also, just not one. So if you look at the Indian scriptures, it's mentioned. So with if I see the holy water coming on the earth, can be, we can just an analogy that, okay, maybe we get a cure.
It's healing.
It's healing. Yeah.
It's cleansing.
Yeah. Maybe, that cleansing starts.
Well, and also maybe this time we could see a little bit of that flattening of the curve.
So thanks, Ashley, for all your time and amazing insights, and hope we'll be together and collaborating again soon.
This is so much fun, and I just really am grateful that you would have me here to talk with you. And thank you so much.
Thank you, dear. Thank you so much. Stay blessed. Om Tat Sat.
Okay.